of this particular visit by President Putin to India, Dr. Datta, is also extremely crucial. You know, just a few days ago, you had Witkoff in Russia, and there too, very clear messaging that was sent across from Putin.
Yes, absolutely. It is very significant, and it is not only significant, it is going to be a turning point in geopolitics and in strategic relationship at the international level. The car diplomacy of tonight would create in a lot of flutter and jitter in United States of America as well as heartburns in Europe. Having said that, this visit is very significant, even though it is very short visit, but it is it is very tight with a lot of things happening. And my understanding is, like, first and foremost, the Relos agreement being ratified by the Duma, by the Russian parliament, that itself is a very significant thing, looking into the context of what is happening at Ukraine as well as in Russia and in Middle East and other parts of the world. Together with that, opening up of the North Arctic Ocean, which has become a very hot cake these days in relation to trade diplomacy and economic diplomacy because of the melting of the Arctic ice and India's entry into that, and Russia giving a free hand to India to, cruise into the waters of Arctic Ocean. That is again a clear message to the West. And of course, there would be discussions on S-500 as well as on Su-17 and advancement of the Sukhoi aircraft and many other things which would be coming in the kitty, together with a huge agreement in relation to technology and also in relation to enhancement of our economic ties and our trade ties and our bilateral relationship. So this would definitely raise in a lot of eyebrows in United States of America, in Europe, and of course China would also be jittery.
Okay.
Last year itself, just 30 seconds more, last year itself, United States of America had traded to almost around 24,000 million US dollars in terms of trade with Russia on uranium as well as on critical minerals and on other important components. So when US does that, and then United States of America threatening Bharat not to go for it, that itself is a hypocrisy of the highest order. And I think this visit is actually going to give in a clear-cut direction as well as a proper messaging to United States of America to stay away as to with whom India should trade and with whom India should maintain a relationship.
As someone who's heard that full 100-minute interview, there is a conversation also where my colleagues Geeta and Anjana actually asked President Putin on what he really makes of what Trump is doing. And Sandeep, while Putin also doesn't shy away in that interview from calling out the threats of tariffs and the attempts to arm twist India, when asked particularly about Trump as a president, about Trump as a leader, there you see Putin take a very careful stance as well.
Well, not surprising, Akshita, because Russia and the United States are in the middle of a very, very sensitive point in their relations, where the United States is trying to get the war in Ukraine to come to an end. But the problem is that you have Europe, which does not want the fighting to end on Russian or American terms. So that's a major problem. And it's, of course, understandable why President Putin would talk about it very carefully, because it is an extremely sensitive moment right now for Russia. Everyone wants to see the war in Europe end. It's only a matter of, on whose terms they're ending and whether this fighting can actually stop. Otherwise, the war, it possibly enters its fifth year in 2026. So it's a very important interview, Akshita, and this is going to be watched. This interview is one of the most significant interviews, that's been obtained by any Indian television channel. And at a moment like this in international relations, it's literally every single capital of consequence will be tuning in to see what President Putin has to say about not only the war in Europe, but also his ties with India and the other countries as well. So it's huge signaling, geopolitical signaling, from the Kremlin, from the Russian Federation, and of course from President Putin himself. And we can't wait to hear what he has to say. And I really envy the fact that you were one of the first to listen to that whole interview, Akshita. But it is going to be the most anticipated interview given by any foreign leader and one that's been scooped by India today, Akshita.
I agree with you.